You've seen multiple different companies from zero to $100 million. From your experience, what makes a sales team successful, and what's one thing that makes them unsuccessful?
The most successful people know the product inside out, back to front, and upside down. So they're good salespeople, and we can talk about what makes a good salesperson, but their product knowledge is outstanding. So when they speak to a client, they really can help uncover the problem and help articulate how the solution can solve their problem. So, there's a number of reasons, but I think the second thing I would say is great salespeople are great listeners. They're not great
Yeah.
talkers. They don't have to be great talkers. I mean, they are great talkers, but they don't have to be great talkers. They should spend 70% of their time listening and 30% of their time talking. And unfortunately, if you look at
Yeah.
inexperienced salespeople, most of them spend too much time talking and too little time listening. They say that buying happens in the selling happens in the words and buying happens in the silence.
Mm.
So let me repeat that. Selling happens
Yeah.
in the words and buying happens in the silence. So you have to ask these open-ended questions to really, to help you uncover the need and solve your client's problem. And the deeper you understand the customer's pain points, the better solution you're going to offer. So you can't do that if you're talking all the time. And what's interesting, there was a study done by Columbia University which said that the top 80%, Pareto principle, the bottom 20% make 80% of the revenue in sales. So they make 16 times more than the top 20% make 16 times more than the bottom 80%. But even more importantly than that, the top 10% make 64 times the earnings than the bottom 90%. So you can just see what a difference it makes to be world-class and high-performing salespeople from the average salespeople. It fundamentally can change one's life. And everyone can be at the top of their game, everyone, because sales is a learnable skill. You can learn skills. You don't come out the womb knowing how to do sales. You can learn sales. You can learn all the playbooks, and not enough people learn them. They think they're going to know them just by by pretending to be a salesperson.
Yes. So, Clive, I want to know, like, you've also said now that like buying times have changed. So, when it comes to actually recruiting the perfect salesperson for your business, how important do you think qualifications are in this day and age? Or do you think it's kind of like leveled the playing field for people that have talent and a hunger to learn?
It's a great question. I mean, from my experience, 20 years ago, it was definitely your CV that got you in the door. It's not your CV anymore. It's your experience and skills. And it's not your qualifications from a university. That doesn't make a great salesperson at all. I'm not saying it holds them back, but in all honesty, if you look at some of the greatest salespeople right now, they're people that sales is about learning. Everyone can learn it. So they are hard workers. They want to learn. They want to grow. They want to become a better version of themselves. And it's not about whether they did a BSc computer science or they did A, B, and C. It's actually quite irrelevant, in my opinion. So I look for when I hire salespeople, I look for experience and skills, and I hire for that opposed to hire what's on their CV, which is their educational qualifications. It was 20 years ago because you had no other way of doing it, but now to me it is most definitely not your educational qualifications. Whether it's an MBA, whether whatever degree you've got, it doesn't necessarily make you a great salesperson. Someone with high EQ that can really listen, they can go back to the things I was saying earlier. I'd rather far more hire for emotional intelligence than intelligence, because emotional intelligence is what's going to make you go far as a salesperson, opposed to IQ. It's far more important. You need IQ, obviously, but EQ is far more important than IQ.
That's awesome to hear because, like, as we all know, that South Africa is like at its highest unemployment rates. I think hearing it from a legend like yourself, I think it's going to be very reassuring to a lot of people out there, and like someone like me as well. That I don't come from a sales background, but I've always had that hunger of learning and like getting to know people and solving problems, which is kind of connected to sales now. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's a positive thing for me to hear.
I mean, just one point on that, Talita. Your biggest asset, everyone's biggest asset is their learning ability. It's their ability
Yes.
to pick up. So if you've got a learning ability and you want to go and learn, even if you're junior, in all honesty, I've trained junior people that they're really hungry, they want to learn, they want to outwork everyone else. They're able to pick up the skills of sales. Because all you do is, well, I
Yeah.
remember when I learned it when I was very young. I was very, very young when I started out in a clothes shop. And I was really a baby. I was 7 years old, in all honesty, when I started working in a clothes shop, selling
Really a
men's clothes.
baby.
And I remember that, I couldn't sell a handkerchief for 5 Rand. It was impossible. I didn't know what to do. But I saw the one salesperson who was absolutely outstanding. He was just selling, someone would come in for a handkerchief, he would sell them 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 shoes, 2 everything. And I went to him and I said to him, please, you have to, how can you teach me? Because I don't know what you're doing and I'm doing, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And he just said to me, you know what, just follow me around for the next few weeks. Please don't say anything. Whatever you do, don't say anything. And you will learn that because you'll learn from me. And I believe, and I did that. And I'll be honest with you, for the next few months after that, I became like the top salesperson from when I was 8 years old till I was 22 when I stopped working there when I finished university. So, that's why I say every skill is learnable and your biggest asset is yourself. So if you're prepared to learn and you're prepared to go on courses, read the internet, but actually get hands-on experience, go and stand on the shoulders of giants that have been there before you. Go and spend time in a sales meeting. Go and just sit in a sales meeting. Don't say a word. Just listen until you feel confident enough that you know what is the salesperson doing that you maybe weren't doing. Learn it and then actually apply that knowledge. Because it's all about doing. Sales is doing. It's action. It's not just about sitting back and learning. You've got to action it and go out there and actually do it. So, as I said, the best salespeople I've ever learned from, and the best salespeople I've ever taught, are the ones that are very, very open to learning and open to increasing their biggest asset, which is themselves.
I want to dig a bit deeper into startups and sales and things like that. So let's say we're a startup, but you deal with a lot of startups. When is the best time to hire your first salesperson? And who should they be looking for? What type of personality should they look for in that first sales ambassador?
Well, I think, that's a great question. So as an entrepreneur, as a founder entrepreneur, I think the first 5, 10 sales, if you're in enterprise, or maybe the first 100, 200 if you're in consumer, has to be done by the founder. The founder ultimately has to close that deal because the founder is who the clients want to see. The founder is the one that's got the vision, the passion, the excitement. And there's 2 types of founders. There's engineering founders, people that can build the stuff, and there's commercial founders, people that can sell the stuff. And even the technical founders, they have to start become comfortable selling, and they don't. They don't like to sell. If you're an engineer, you don't like selling. You like building. And I like to see, I never only invest in engineers because for that simple reason is they're not salespeople, and I want to invest in someone that can build and someone that can sell. So the hacker who can build and the hustler who can sell. But I always like to spend a lot of time with the engineers and get them into the sales process because they're also passionate. They are a founder and they can ultimately sell and they can learn how to sell. But going back to your point, so first and foremost, when with entrepreneurs, I only will hire at least 2 people. I don't like individual founders. I know you are one, Brandon, but I like someone who can sell and someone that can build. But then there's some founders that can do both. They're unbelievable they can do both. They actually know how to help the technical people really understand architecture and understand project management and understand those things, and they have the ability to sell. So those founders are rare, but they are out there, and I like to find those founders. Also, I will only invest in people that have both the building and the selling. So I think that's very important. I think for the first 5, 10 sales in the enterprise, so you're doing the first 500 to R1 million a month or 500,000 Rand a month, should be done by the founding team. If it's 2, 3 of you in the founding team, you should be doing it. And at that stage, you should be hiring. There are exceptions to this rule, obviously. Sometimes you have to hire a little bit earlier, but at the end of the day, you should still be involved in the key sales. Maybe some sales that you shouldn't be involved in, like in your guys' case. But at the end of the day, for the bigger sales, when you're going to close the enterprise deals and you're dealing with the enterprise, they want to meet with the founder, and the founder will be doing the best sales. So when should you hire your salespeople? I believe you should be hiring a sales team when you've got product market fit. So once you've got product market fit, your sales team can take that playbook that I spoke about earlier, and they can follow the playbook and they can go and sell because they know it's working. To hire salespeople, I think in your case, Brandon, with hire sales, you found product market fit very, very early. So you were able to hire these salespeople, and my rule didn't really apply because you had product market fit. But you not have product market fit, and that really means product market fit means retention is very high, your customers are not churning. If you do an NPS survey, it's very good. People keep on buying and coming back and coming back and coming back, and they rather than you pushing the product out of the business, they're actually pulling the product out of the business. To me, that's a high-level definition of product market fit. But once you've got that, you absolutely should start hiring a sales team. If you're in a sales-led motion, if you're in a product-led motion, obviously there's more going to be your engineers are going to be doing the sales online rather than your sales-led. But if you're in the enterprise space, you have to have a sales team. You have to have a sales-led motion. A number of my companies in my Kalon days, some of them have got 60, 70 salespeople now, some 20, 30, some 5, 10. But so once you've got PMF, I would say you find your distribution partners that can sell for you, and you hire your sales force. I also like to hire 2 salespeople at once, not just one. And the reason I do that is because if you only hire one and it doesn't work, you don't know what's not working. Is it your product? Is it the salesperson? If you hire 2 and the one's shooting the lights out and the other one's not, well, it's obvious what the answer is, where the problem lies. So I like to hire 2 at a time once I start hiring. But for me, a lot of these organizations become sales organizations. You get a brilliant product, you really are solving a significant problem for a client, and then you need to just get it out there. You need to get people to know about that. So you need to hire a large sales organization, and you can really, you want to scale quickly. So once you've got, as an entrepreneur, you need to have a repeatable and scalable and profitable sales model. And once you've got that, that's the time to really put the foot on the gas and go and hire lots and lots of salespeople. But you've got to, don't hire for the sake of hiring. Rather slow down your hiring and get the right people, like Talita as an example, than just hire for the sake of hiring. Because hiring the wrong people it's costly, it's expensive. You've got to hire the right people. It's absolutely critical. And people that want to learn and grow, but they've got to be the right people. And an unbelievable skill to have is your ability to hire salespeople. It's a skill that not many people have got because they're not inherently salespeople themselves. Where, Brandon, I think you're absolutely a salesperson. That's why I got involved in higher sales. And you know what to look for in a salesperson. But I do a lot of hiring for my investee companies because sales hiring and other hiring, but particularly sales hiring. Because, I had a couple of hundred people reporting to me during my Accenture days. And I remember how many mistakes I made. When I started, I think 10 out of 10 hires, I got 9 of them wrong. When I left, I think out of 10 hires, I got 9 of them right. So you just have to learn what is the right, what do you look for? Like Talita asked, do you look for experience? Or do you look for education? What do you actually look for? Maybe the question of sell me this pen, I love that question to see if someone can really, it's not about what the answer is. It's just, can they think out the box? That's why I asked that question. It's all from that movie. I think the Wolves of Wall Street or something like that, where he asked that question. But I love that question to ask and it just sets a good salesperson, it rolls off their tongue, the answer.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I think, and Talisa, you can bail me out on this one. So we've spoken to about, say, 15 companies in the last, say, month and a half, right? The wonderful strengths that I think is separating us from others is that when we're looking at the database of candidates versus the companies, we're able to say, this candidate is good for your company. And I think that skill that you're talking about, not every company possesses. And then also what happens is a lot of the CEOs and COOs leave the hiring up to the sales managers because sometimes they're leading the hiring process, but they don't actually know what to look for. So I think our strength, and this is just to divert a bit, but our strength there is that we kind of can see this is the company, this is the profile, this is what we think would work, and this is how we place the candidate. So that comes further than just like, hey, this is the best talent in South Africa, or we're using AI. It's a personalized approach that I think is different, and it's a skill that you mentioned. So on that note, Clive, one of the things we're dealing with a lot is companies wanting to hire, but they're looking for industry specific experience. Do you think that's important in a salesperson, that they come from the same industry, or do you think we can bring in people from adjacent industries with maybe databases and things like that? And just one more thing, because industry specific experience also comes with restraints of trade. So that's an important point as well.
Yeah, I think let's set restraints of trade aside for a second, because obviously that's a legal issue and you can't resolve for that one. But I think I don't believe by just having industry skills that makes you successful salespeople, because the problem with having industry skills, sometimes your focus is actually quite narrow, because sometimes knowing the industry is actually a deficit. It's not a plus, because you're not thinking out the box anymore, because you know the industry doesn't do it that way, they do it this way, and you come in there with your hard and fast rules, and that actually becomes an impediment to actually closing sales, where someone from a different industry will not have that those barriers or those the swim lanes, and they'll come in there with no swim lanes, and they will make and understand what's different. How do you get out of your comfort zone? How can we sell and take this and really transform this organization? Where often I find people from the industry or don't know how to transform the organization because they just know that's the way it was always done and they'll never change. And that's not the attitude to have as a salesperson. You have to be transformative and help the client see the future. Help the client, they're not seeing it today, but help them see what it could be tomorrow. So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I don't think because they've got industry skills it does work. if I had a choice, would I hire the right person with the right experience and skills from a different industry before someone with the wrong skills from the right industry? I'd go with option A. However, the right skills from the wrong industry, most definitely.
Yeah. You can train for industry. You can train for a lot of things.
And you can. I mean, those things you really can train for, in all honesty. And, if you listen to the clients and they tell you their problems, a lot of these problems are the same problems. If it's in a lot of horizontal things across, procurement or HR or this or that, they're the same problems that are being experienced in different industries. Yes, if it might be absolutely deep content in the industry, it's very learnable. Go on a few courses, you go on Coursera, you go on whatever course, you go and learn about it. But if you're hungry, you'll learn it. You will learn it and you will understand it. So I don't believe that's a problem, in all honesty. But I do understand clients still believe that's what they want. They believe that's the only way they can solve their problem. So unfortunately, I don't believe that's the right answer. But unfortunately, some of you have no choice. You have to give them someone from the industry until they realize maybe that's not the right answer.
So another thing I want to talk about is sales management. What do you think makes a good sales manager? And also like going up the tree, you got sales director, VP of sales. So in your companies in the past, what makes a good sales manager and going right up? Like, what do you look for?
I think we start with a sales manager. You're not talking about a vice president of sales or whatever they call it in the US. So you're talking about someone that, for one, has to be a bear carrier. So they've got to have their own quota. They need to be a quota carrying person of the sales team. And then they've got to set up all the systems and the processes, everything about how to sell, what to sell, how do we hire, what emails we send out to people. So sales managers have to be good managers, really be able to manage their team and make sure their team are delivering and manage them in or out and hopefully grow them and mentor them. But they've also got to be quota carrying. They've got to have their own. They can't just say it's a 10 million rand quota and they have none of that quota themselves. That's not a sales manager. When you get a vice president of sales and they've got 50 people in their sales team, that's more difficult. What they should focus on, they still need to see clients, just like a CEO. You've got to go and see your most important clients. You've got to get on a jet. If you've got to get on a jet to go to Durban or you go to Cape Town or go to Durban, whatever it might be, get on the jet as the vice president. Because I know if CEOs are going to be seeing someone or whoever senior person in an organization, they want to see the top people. That's who they want to see. They don't want to see the junior people. They want to see that junior people are fine, but they want to see the top people as well. So the vice president of sales or the CEO of the company makes a significant difference of closing. But even it's not just only when you're closing, the vice president should be out to these clients. They should be visiting all their clients at least once a year. Go and see your clients. How are you doing? Can we do something differently? How are we doing as a team? If you were me, what would you give me advice that I should be doing? So you absolutely have to get out there as a vice president of sales or the chief revenue officer, whatever that title is, and go and see those clients at a minimum once a year. Because not only is that obviously makes business sense, but you just might find there's an opportunity or there's an upsell opportunity or there's other types of opportunities. But clients want to see the top dog. They want to see the top dogs, and you can't get away from that. So initially, as I said, Brandon, you have to be in the bigger sales you need to be in. Because for one, they want to see you, but secondly, you've got the vision and the passion and everything like that, irrespective of who your team is. But once you get big enough and you manage a team of 50, 100 people, you can't do that. You can't be involved in every sale, but you still should get involved in even when I was CEO of Accenture South Africa, I still got in the big sales, like the billion rand sales, the 100 million rand sales. I got involved in every one of them. You can't leave the 10 million rand sales. I never got involved in. You can't spread yourself that thin. But the big deals, the clients wanted to see you, and you had to take charge of some of those sales and helping them construct the value proposition and construct, why is the client going to buy? Understand the whole power map. Who's buying? Who's the saboteurs? Who's the people can say yes? Who's the people that can say no? You've got to understand that whole, what I call a power map, which is what we learned, what I taught the guys in Accenture. You need to understand that hardly any sales today take place just by one person. There's multiple people that get involved in the sale, and there's multiple people that can say no to the sale. So you have to navigate all the politics. You've got to navigate all these people. It's not just walk to Clive and Clive will say fine. No, Clive might have the budget, but there's still a lot of people that can say yes or a lot of people that can say no.
I want to talk a bit into the B2B marketing, or not B2B sales actually. So I know like we've shifted. So this generational shift, we had cold emailing, cold calling. I mean, I think cold calling started everything, and then it went to cold emailing. Now it's like content marketing and demand generation. Do you think there's a transfer happening in terms of like from cold calling to cold emailing, now to content? Do you think each one is important, or do you think we're changing the way we sell B2B?
Ironically, emails, they still work. Everyone said, no, emails don't work. But now with artificial intelligence and you get the AI to write an incredible email still works. I'll tell you something, that CEO still opens that mail. And if you can have a catchy headline and not talk nonsense in the email, it's not actually about whether it's email, it's about what's the content of the email. That email's got to be absolutely crisp and clear. I know me, I'm a venture capitalist. When people send me an email and they catch my attention, I'll tell you something, I respond, I say, I'd love to meet with you. In fact, I'm meeting with someone right now because they did that to me. And if that had been a plain email, I would have just said, no, I'm not meeting with you. So I would, there's a great book called Traction Channels, and they talk about 20 traction channels, from social media, email marketing, whatever it is. I mean, all these things that you spoke about. And it's not about which one works. I think they all work depending on the company. Some companies A, B, and C will work. Some companies A, G, and H will work. So you have to actually experiment which ones work. Put a bit of money into social media, put a bit of money into SEO, put a bit of money into SEM, and see what actually works for your business. And if it works, double down. If it doesn't work, stop and find another channel. But there's no one answer here that channel will work for that type of business. It's funny how some just work in some business and some don't work in other businesses. But more importantly, is not to go down a path and just keep on putting more and more and more money into a channel that is not working, or into email marketing, into a marketing method that's not working. Quickly, you must recognize it's not working. Use the data, exactly what you said, Brandon. The data is gold. That data, it's not working. It's gone to 50 clients or 100, 200 clients that email. Either email doesn't work or the content of the email doesn't work. If you're doing content marketing, and I'm a strong believer in content marketing, that they go to your website, that's your lead generator. They want more content. They put the email in, and then you've got a warm lead that you can pass over to your salespeople. And you keep on sending them more and more content. I'm a firm believer in that. But sometimes it doesn't work. I find that most often does work, but it's not about what works and what doesn't work. There's 20 traction channels. You got to find out what works. And there must be an experiment. You say, I'm putting 20,000 Rand aside for this, or 50,000 Rand, whatever you can afford. And then you spend that money. If it works, double down. If it doesn't work, stop and go to the next traction channel. And if you can get, I'll tell you one thing I've learned in business. If you can just get one proper distribution traction channel to work, that can change your business completely. One. And often we get more than one, but if you just get one, double down that one and get it working. Then go to number 2, then go to number 3, then go to number 4. But also at some point, that channel that was working and your customer cost of acquisition is low and your lifetime value is higher, that data is telling you, wow, this is unbelievable. It's very cheap to acquire a customer. You're getting an exceptionally long lifetime value, assuming you've been around long enough. But even in those channels, eventually you get the diseconomies of scale. The cost of acquisition starts going up, and then you need to start looking at alternative acquisition channels. And that happens in most organizations.
Also, that fine line between data. So like in terms of like leads coming in and then handing it over to the sales. And I feel in a lot of companies, and this is just from my experience, they have this tug of war between marketing and sales. Can you speak into that a bit, like into the demand generation side of things, when you're generating the leads and how does it go to the salespeople? Who is responsible for that process? Who should oversee it? Things like that.
So in my experience I'm not talking about a 50,000 people company. Marketing is different, but let's talk about a smaller company with maybe a couple of hundred people, and it's more an entrepreneurial organization. Marketing should be responsible for lead generation, and they should have a quota. They should have a quota for how many qualified leads that marketing actually generates. They can do the PR stuff and the other stuff around conferences and stuff like that. Yes, that's fine, but they should still be carrying a quota on lead generation. That lead generation, that MQL, marketing qualified lead, should go into sales and hopefully then get qualified by the sales SDRs, the BDRs, whatever. But they should be qualified by the salespeople to make sure that they're quality leads. But I believe the lead generation should start with marketing. They should be at the top of the funnel and really understanding at the end of the day, what are the client's problems? What does the client need? How do I solve these client's problems? That's where it should start, at marketing, and then give it over to sales to go and do the close. So marketing does the open, sales does the close. That for me is best practice. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes marketing in a larger organization, they have no responsibility for marketing qualified leads. They have no responsibility for deal origination. They're just purely there to write nice brochures and write clever, sexy stuff, but nothing more than that. And they want a very big budget for that. because they want to have 43 people in their team so they can do nothing. No disrespect to marketers here, but
It's very valuable, I think, especially from my side. When you're running a company, to understand the two sides, because you've got marketing, as you said, who generates those leads, and then you've got to understand that those leads have to be a certain quality. You've got to check the quality, and you've got to keep on refining it. But for me, the key thing is data. So this entire timeline that you're talking about, from marketing to sales to closing it, getting the data at each step is really, really important, because you can see where the fall off is. And then you can also like look at one step into it, and you can say, okay, if I do something here to fix this part of it, I can double my output. If I could increase the quality, I can triple my output in sales. And you can take a company from like 2 times to 3 times to 5 times just by fixing that pipeline almost. We're going to be rounding up soon, so I just want to talk about a couple more things. One important thing to me is the landscape of South Africa. Question is, where is South Africa headed economically? Is it the right time to hire salespeople or invest in growth? So what's your opinion on where we're headed? With the GNU, with the economy of South Africa, do you think we're on the right path? Do you think companies should be investing in growth now before the peak? So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, look, I'm an optimist, so I'm very optimistic about South Africa. I think the GNU is one point to be optimistic about. I think digital transformation and how they can increase the economy and the amount of digitalization. The government's doing quite a lot to help with visas and things like that, helping immigrants come into the country who've got great skills. So I'm overall I'm optimistic. But let's think about this. Most companies, big companies, were actually started out in a bad economy. So the best time to invest is when no one else is investing. The best time to invest is when the other companies are closing down. You must put your foot on the accelerator and double down, because that's the best time to grow a business. When in the hardest times, when they can't keep the lights open and they're closing down, you can have the cash. You've got it. You're solving a big problem. You should be doubling down and building a really big business, because you don't have that much competition. So if there was ever a time, it's now. But they say the best time to plant a tree was 23 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is now. You've got to plant it now. You can't plant it 10 years ago, so you plant it now. So I am optimistic, but I think it's a fantastic, what I'm seeing in the marketplace, if you know what you're doing, if you know what problem you're solving, if you really are, as I said earlier, you're increasing revenue, you're reducing cost, you're reducing time, you're solving a pain point, you are, helping a client achieve their goals. If you've got a great solution, they don't buy products and services, they buy solutions and outcomes. You have to understand that. They don't buy products and services, they buy solutions and outcomes. And if you've got a great solution and outcome for them, I was on a call today with Australia, where this company, and I was saying to them, typically what you do, and it's quite a nice data point, and I learned this when I was in Silicon Valley, but I've learned this, not learned this, I mean, it's still valid, that if you're saving, let's say your product is saving R1 million a month, just hypothetically, we discussed this as an exact answer. You should be charging for your product between 10 and 25% of the savings that you're making per month. So if it's saving R1 million per month, you should be charging between 100 and 250,000 Rand per month. That's how because you should price to value. And part of sales is pricing. A very, very important part of sales is pricing. And that's how, if you really are solving a problem and there's a good business case and ROI, you should be charging 10 to 25% of the savings. I don't know how you do it, Brandon, but that's would always be my rubric that I would use when I'm saying, are you charging enough? Because this company that I was talking to this morning, and they are new, and I get it, it's fine. They were charging much, much lower. They were charging like 2%. And I said, you've got so much opportunity to increase that price, because pricing is a key component of selling. Anyone can sell. I can sell you $1 for 85 cents. I mean, the other way around. I can sell you, you can buy $1 from me, and you give me 85 cents. I'm going to do all the sales in the world, but that's not a business. That's not sustainable. You can't do that. So you got to sell something that's adding value. And remembering, if we're going to close soon, but people buy value. People buy outcomes. They buy the benefits. They don't buy products. They don't buy features. They don't care that you AR or you virtual reality or you cryptocurrency or they couldn't give a damn. They really couldn't. That's an internal issue, how you solve their problem. What they care about is what problem you're going to solve for them. How you solve it, that's the technical issue. They really don't know. They don't care. They don't understand it. They don't have to understand it. They care about how you will solve their problem and is it a big enough problem to solve? And if you can do that, you really are onto something. And then you go to the 10 to 25% of the value, because we should be pricing to value in sales, not pricing to cost. And too often we price to cost opposed to price to value.
Just one thing. Can you leave a few points for the young entrepreneurs out there just starting out? Just give them some motivation. It's a tough economy. I speak to a lot of people my age, younger than me. They're getting beat up. Being an entrepreneur is extremely hard. So what can you leave with them lastly?
No, I think I'll give a couple of quotes. I mean, listening builds trust. That's number one. Listening builds trust. You want to build trust, and you have to people buy. There's 5 reasons why people don't buy. So you've got to overcome these 5. No hurry, no money, no demand. Sorry, I just actually wrote them down again because I always forget these. But it's no budget, no cash. There's no money, no trust, no need, no desire, and no hurry. And you've got to actually find a way of moving them from I'm not interested to my head's on fire. How do I actually get, tell me the fire extinguishers so I can get rid of this fire. So sales is about building rapport. It's not about breaking it. And that's key. You have to build rapport. The first 15 minutes of a sales meeting should be about the family and let them talk and tell you about everything. People love talking about themselves. The most important person in the sales meeting is not you. That's all I can tell you. The most important person in the sales meeting is not you. It's them. Whoever you're selling to, they're more important. They will speak and they will speak and they'll speak, and just let them. I've sat in sales meetings for an hour and a half and I haven't said a word. I've said hello and then they've spoken for 1.5 hours, and it's fine. And if you don't close the deal on the first time, say, can we get a follow-up meeting? If we need a follow-up meeting, it's better to try and at least get something on the first meeting, but it's not that important. Build that rapport, build that trust. So you sell them or they sell you. At the end of the day, you sell them or they sell you. If they say no, they've sold you. If they say yes, you've sold them. If you've got children, I know, Brandon, you have, and I don't know what you tell it, but if you've got children, you're always in the sales game. They're selling you or you're selling them. So salespeople, you always, nothing starts. And this is that lesson for nothing starts until the cash register rings. That cash register is the start of everything. If you don't get sales, you don't have a business. Doesn't matter what business you're in. You have to sell. If you're in a bank, if you're an insurance company, if you're in recruiting, if you're in automotive, anything, you have to be able to sell, because nothing happens until that cash register rings. And as I said, you sell them or they sell you, and it's very important to know if they've sold you or you sold them. And so you've got to walk out there selling them. I think my last point I'm going to make here is never, and I'm going to repeat this a couple of times, but never take no from someone that can't say yes. So let me just repeat that. Never take a no from someone that can't say yes. Because too many times you'll speak to maybe the executive assistant, and they'll say, no, he's not interested or she's not interested. Nonsense. That executive assistant cannot say yes. Don't take a no from them. Don't take a no from them. I've had so many no's where I've just ignored it and I've gone around and found the right people and I've got the sale. And the last point I'm going to give is you miss 100% of the opportunities you don't ask for. You will never sell anything if you don't ask for the deal. You have to ask for the deal. And it's amazing when you ask for the deal, how many times you will actually get the deal. But you miss 100% of the opportunities that you don't ask for.
Yeah. That's actually from Michael Jordan. He actually said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, yeah, that's very true. But thank you, Clive. Thank you very much for your time. You're a mentor to us, and we're very, very proud to have you on board with us. And I think the advice, the direction, the guidance, as I always say, it's invaluable. So thank you very much. And I'm sure everyone watching, they're going to get a lot from this and a lot from your experience. And hopefully we can have further chats, go into more detail. But thank you very much for your time.
No, thanks for both of you for your time. It was really, really interesting. And yeah, let's hope the people listening are now going to go and become the top 10% and do 64 times more sales than the bottom 90%. Because then I know this podcast has really made a difference.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Clive. We'll chat soon.
Great. Thanks, guys.